are, Chiro Mafia again. I'm just hanging out in Venice in the gondola. Whoa, trying not to rock the boat a whole lot. Man, here comes a wave down here. Yeah. Trying to stay.
I didn't know you had special effects. What the fuck? You got special effects?
Yep, trying to stay in the canoe,
I'll
man.
tell you.
Whoa. And there you
love
are
you.
outside the Coliseum, probably a crowd around you. Just happened to
couple of gladiators. We're good.
Yeah. So here we are again. So, it's so funny because before we actually record, we're in like a 15-minute conversation. Well, what about this? And what about this? And what about that? What about yeah. Hey, come on, let's talk about this.
True story. I just got down to my house in Fort Lauderdale, and my son came over. We went over to Trader Joe's. We came back and we're like, "What are you going to do?" He goes, "Let's make pesto." So we made about a cup and a half of some damn good pesto. I got to tell you, man, it is awesome. So of course
Plus
he just
it's got Vito and Joey's olive oil in it, right?
Of course. What other oil would you use? Please,
it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool, good man. Stuff. We were talking about it, and there's really just a simple one-liner, because why do we have Chiro Mafia? How do you get all your patients in the lifestyle? And people say, well, I can't get all my patients, but I can get some. That's the problem. And that's why we have Chiro Mafia, because you can get 90% or more into lifestyle. And if you don't set that standard, here's the thing, and this is what we teach in Elite. When you set a standard that's higher than your skill level, then you have to develop the skill to meet that standard. So if you don't have the skill, then develop the skill, don't lower the standard. And that's the problem in chiropractic. Patient education, well, I'm getting, I get 5 out of 10 in the lifestyle. Well, do you want everybody to be in lifestyle?
Correct.
Do you want 3 out of 10 or 5 out of 10 to bring their family, or do you want 9 or 10 out of 10 to bring their family?
Yes.
Or at least referring, right? So, so this is what Chiro Mafia is about. We enforce the policies. Let's set the standard high, and then let our skill level get to the level and I don't know what's that word. Go over your was not supersede. Go beyond your standard.
Exceed it. Yeah.
Exceed it. There's the word I'm looking for.
And when we think about that, when we talk like that, you apply it to your practice. Like, I don't remember when it was for me, but there was a time where I just walked in and said, like, everyone's going to sign. We have some new docs that are I'm so blessed to have in the office, and you're developing them and leading them into being leaders themselves. And that's what they asked. What are we looking to percentage wise? I go, I'll be honest with you. Like, when I go back there, everyone's going to sign. Like, why wouldn't they sign? And if they don't, it's a matter of, I didn't ask the right question. I didn't tap into what their belief and value system is. I need to be great at it, but I need to ask the right questions. But if we do a group talk, which I know you do, but so we do a group talk. We don't call it that. We don't even call it doctor's report. We just tell them they're coming back to look at their exam and x-ray results and discuss best recommendation and care. And then when he's sitting there, we're going to hammer it. And then when we meet him in private, my attitude is, when I walk into that room, like, of course they're going to get on a plan. I'm going to overcome any challenge they got. I'm going to overcome any challenge they have. But like you're saying, raising that standard forces you to have to develop the skill set. If you don't have a high standard, or like you say, wow, I get burnt out, I get apathetic, so I lower my standard to meet it, you're not going to develop, you're not going to be better, you're not going to be bigger. And then you're just going to reproduce the same, output. That, like you and I have said 100 times, Fred, how is it that you can bring in 300, 400, 500 new ones a year? Now, I'm not trying to knock anybody, but I want them to look at their numbers. How can you bring in 300-500 new ones a year and still see the same amount? How can you say I'm 100 a week or 100 a day chiropractor and bring in 300 to 500 in a year and go, I'm still 100 or 200? What's happening to all those people? You're bleeding. And we see, and again, I'm not knocking them, but I see other coaches, other programs, and they put out there like, hey, I saw 50, 60, 80, 100 new ones. And I appreciate that. I get that. That's great. That's a great new patient machine. Everybody needs care. But at the same time, man, you got to be losing everybody on the back end because you'd be seeing 5,000 people a week. So how
Well,
about
and you're traumatizing people about chiropractic. Now,
right,
what are they
exactly.
now? We're creating more people with a consciousness that it's about pain or it's not about
Right.
healthcare. And then
Exactly.
what are we doing?
Exactly. Exactly.
We're
Exactly.
creating the problem.
We are creating the problem. We are the problem.
Yeah.
And again, I don't mean to knock anybody, you know, but we have to look at it. We can't take the easy way out. We can't lower the standard. You know, there's some people here, and I'm up in New York where I practice, and again, I say it out of love. I'm not trying to hammer anybody. I see, you know, they're bringing in all types of therapies, and they just lost the idea of what it is we're trying to do. And I hear them say, well, you know, it really helps a lot of people. I'm like, well, if they came in with a fucking root needed a root canal, would you do a root canal? Like, I mean, if they had an ingrown toenail, would you do their toenail? Like, no, you wouldn't. You'd refer out. So it doesn't mean that these other services don't provide a benefit, but why not stay in your lane, as BJ taught us, and stick with what chiropractic is, and you'll see a ton more people. You'll create lifetime relationships, like you say, a community in your practice, a group of believers, and your overhead's low, and you could reproduce that forever. You just nurture that value forever, and man, you're seeing hundreds a week or hundreds a day, and you're just having a riot, and you're helping a ton of people, and you're having a phenomenal lifestyle.
And you're changing lives and making a huge
Yeah.
impact. You know, and here's the thing, we just came back from the Perfect Day, 1 Day 2 boot camp. And the reason I call it perfect isn't because of the scripts. The scripts guide the topic. What we do is we adapt everything to the person in front of you, and that's why it's perfect.
Yeah.
Right? I wouldn't talk to a CEO the same way I talk to a stay-at-home mother of four.
Right.
To actually learn different personality types and how to apply the message and the principle. But one of the first things we said in the first 10 minutes is the chiropractic profession thinks you grow your practice with new patients. Well,
Right.
you can do that, but then you're going to work hard. Now, I
Right.
tried that, and the bigger my practice got, the more new patients I had to have to sustain it.
Correct.
Because my PVA didn't grow.
Correct.
At a higher volume with the same PVA, which means I needed twice as many new patients every month.
Correct.
And that was the first 11 years because that's what the management groups teach.
Right.
They talk about those three nasty letters, PVA. And so the thing is, the easy way to build your practice is know how to increase your PVA. And then you find out when your PVA goes up and you get a bunch of referrals, you don't have to market. Now, should you market? Sure.
Correct.
You can market, but because you want to, not because you have to.
Right, right. You know, it's sad that the profession, two things, you know, that the average doc goes to bed worried about how many new ones, and then that I'm not saying that's bad that there's other businesses in chiropractic, but one of the largest businesses in chiropractic is these programs, how to get newbies, you know what I mean? And that's what's sad. You know, the Boreoism that we have in chiropractic is, you know, be good at getting them, be great at keeping them. Like, you know, I had this great experience. I was learning to play golf, which I never mastered. As you know, Italians aren't always great golfers. But there's only one, I think, Rocco. But I remember going, Jay Catalano, he was an Italian guy. He was my coach. And I said, Jay, listen, I mean, I'm not a natural golfer. My dad was. I just really suck at it. Can you help me out? So, you know, he said, hey, listen, I want you to spend, because all I would do is go to the driving range. That's pretty much it. I'd grab a 5-iron, 7-iron, a driver, 3-wood. And he said, hey, Joe, this is what I want you to do. I want you to practice as much on the fairway clubs and chipping and putting as you do on the driving range. He said, because even if your drive gets a little better, that's great. But he said, you're missing a whole part of the game. And, you know, once I did that, you know, you've heard, right? You drive for show, you putt for dough. So once I started doing that, boy, my score came down. I got to be honest with you, I wasn't really better off the tee, maybe a little better, but the rest of my game got so much better. So when you look at your practice, it's the same way. We're all trying to drive for show, not realizing that, wow, it's all those other things after the tee shot, after the new patient. That's the one that's going to keep them. That's the one that's going to make them bring their family. And that's the one that's going to make them believers. That's the one that's going to create the community. And I know you're great at it. That's what we do. But unfortunately, a lot of people aren't learning that. They're learning how to bring in a bunch of newbies. So,
well, the thing is, I got tired of suffering, right? I do what management groups tell me. Miss Jones, how's your back pain affect your life? Can't pick up my kids. Oh, I can pick up my kids. Thanks, doc. So
Yes.
you may sign them up for the first 36 visits or whatever,
Right.
but then all of a sudden, well, we're buying a house and I don't have time or money, but we're taking our family to Europe for Christmas, all six of us. And
Right.
you're like, what do
Right.
you think? That's
Right.
like 20 grand at
Exactly.
least,
Exactly.
and then you get tired of that and it's like, forget it, I'm done, man. And going back to what you said, I want to comment on this because you said you already know you're getting everybody. First of all, Tony Robbins has a quote. We talk about this in boot camp 1 and the retention boot camp is the person with the highest conviction has the most influence.
Yeah.
And that's what people are missing is the conviction. Now, it's not that you're going to go in there and get everybody and I'm putting in that mind because it's the law of attraction or whatever you want to do. What it
Sure.
is, you have conviction. And then what the bottom line is, your conviction is, what if they don't understand it? Then you're going to go, look, maybe I didn't explain this to you.
Yeah,
I need to
exactly.
know what you're thinking. Like there's something you don't understand, and I'll take responsibility, but you got to tell me why.
Right.
Like we're going to understand why. We're not just going to take an excuse.
Right.
We're going to go,
Let me go
what are
home
you
and think about
thinking,
it.
man? Did you understand this? Like, I don't understand.
Right. Right.
And that's where
Let
we
me go
always
home and
say
think
that,
about
yeah,
it.
the dumber you are, the more successful you'll be because you're like, wait a minute. And, that's pretty easy for us, right? Because we're simple,
Yes.
which
Yes.
is, hey, there's a difference between IQ is intellect, intelligence is in your heart.
Correct.
Your conviction and your love for that person is in your heart, which is then you say, I don't understand in my mind what you're talking about. I can't, that excuse you just gave me, wop. I don't even know what you're saying. Please explain to me what you're thinking and why you're thinking it. And then
Yeah.
let me ask you a question based on that.
Yeah. We get into it again, and I know you do the same type of communication, but to share it to the people listening to us right now, crooked is sick. Like,
Yeah.
we just show them like real simple is what's healthier for you, straighter or crooked? Crooked. Well, are you crooked or straight? I'm crooked. So crooked is sick. More crooked is more sick, right? I mean, more crooked is more sick. So our job is to work on the spine. And I love what you talked about the last couple of weeks. It's the cord, not the curve, right? So we're focusing on the nervous system. So why is crooked sick? Because you're pushing on what? I mean, so breaking it down easy and really driving it forward, and then the consequences of it. We had a guy in not too long ago, and one of the docs in the office was having some trouble. So he came back, we called it an RD. So I went and talked to him. And I said, hey, listen, what, forget the x-rays for a minute. You ever talk to somebody that has gotten older and they're having just a tremendous amount of disability sickness? Hey, they're in a wheelchair, they're in a walker, they got a diaper on because they can't control their bowel and bladder. And he's like, yeah. I go, do you think when he was your age at like 40, he was like, man, I got to be honest with you. Woo! I can't wait till I'm 70 or 80 and then I'm stuck in a wheelchair or a walker. I can't wait till I can't control my bowel
Pissing
and
on
bladder.
myself.
Like, you think that was his goal? No. So what caused him to be there? Not taking care of himself. It wasn't his goal, but by not taking care of himself. So what do you think he would be thinking right now if he was here going over these x-rays? What do you think the difference is?
Well, yeah.
How do
What do
we
you
make
think he
you
would
see it
say to
from that
you right
perspective?
now?
Exactly.
Right.
So, using those analogies, you get somebody that says like, well, Dr. Barr, I'd love to come in, but my husband and I just bought a new house. I say to them, well, I can appreciate that. Congratulations. Did it come with a handicap ramp? That's the first thing I say, and they laugh and they go, well, what do you mean? I go, well, did it come with a ramp? I mean, I hope so, because, you can have this beautiful house, but if you don't have your health, you don't take care of yourself, how are you going to get in the house? And it just gets them thinking a little bit like, wait a minute, the house has got value, but how valuable is anything if you feel like crap? It sucks.
Or if you're sick. So anyway, today's theme is lifestyle is simple. It's simple communications. It's not patient education. Now, patient education is going to be automatic. Like when Joe, when you look at crooked is sick, straight is healthy. That's not patient education. That's changing belief system.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lifestyle is simple. So what we want to go through is a couple of things on day 1, day 2 that each of us have done and teach. And that way, how you wire people, and after 25 years of studying human behavior, and Joe, you know this from experience, How they get neuro-emotionally wired right from day one will likely be their decision.
Yes.
I mean, if you neuro-emotionally wire them on pain, it's so much harder over time to change their
Oh,
mind.
Fred, you're exactly nail it. Yes.
As,
Keep going. Sorry. Just
I know it's all good. As opposed to getting them in a lifestyle right from day one. And so, one, every patient only has one problem. They didn't live a chiropractic lifestyle. So think
right.
about it. If they were
Exactly.
adjusted from the time they were born, you guys know this because you've adjusted babies. They're not vaccinated. They're healthier than the other kids. And then their parents said, "Oh my God, he fell off the monkey bars, landed on his head. Doc, can you check him?" It's the kids that weren't checked. Those are you and I, right? That weren't checked that now they have cervical kyphosis. Now they have asthma. Now they have allergies. Now they have digestive problems. Now they have all these things as a teenager and an adult, right? That turn into friggin' ulcerative colitis and autoimmune when they're in their 30s and multiple sclerosis. Like that all started. And I used to tell my patients allergies as a kid, which is a sign of immune weakness, is cancer as an adult. Because if you
Yes.
don't ever correct your
Exactly.
spine, your immune system is shut down
Yes.
your whole life.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
that's autoimmune, which turns into cancer. Allergies as a kid is cancer as an adult.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you watch those kids with allergies, man, and ear infections are coming in like this
Yes.
because that's true.
Yeah. We do
So
a study in chiropractic. We do a science study of the week. So we pick an organ essentially every couple of weeks, and we go over some research on it. So this last week we did one. It was on spleen. So spleen, second largest lymph tissue of the body. And what these researchers are doing, they don't, again, they don't know they're chiropractic researchers, but they are, right? So they're doing lesions on the spine to determine if it affected the function of the spleen, right? Hemopoietic tissue, filtration of the blood, and it's makes B lymphocytes and it's immune regulation. So they're setting this up, and guess what they found out? No shocker, two factors. One, peripheral nerve affects the function of the spleen, direct relationship, and then secondly was autonomic function. So they would either mess with the autonomic function, spleen went to shit. If they mess with the peripheral nerve, spleen went to shit. So think about everybody you touch. You were talking about it earlier, Fred, before we got on the call. Everyone you touch, you don't even realize it, but you're adjusting that area of the spleen function is going to increase to, you don't know what the diminishment, the interference of the spleen is, and 20-30%. You don't know that you just saved that guy from having cancer. You don't know you just prevented that kid from having allergies. I mean, 10% of people that take children take an antibiotic within the first year of life develop I'm sorry, 10% of people that take an antibiotic have an immediate reoccurrence of the infection. 90% of babies are given their first antibiotic. 80% of those babies start to develop allergies and asthma later in life because the utilization of those antibiotics. So and then 80% of people die. The reason they die from asthma is from a side effect of the drug, not from the asthma itself. So we're creating this whole community culture of diseased people inadvertently. And because, like you're saying, we don't know the cause, we're not following the belief, we're not following the lifestyle, and then we're wondering why we're sick. You don't have
yeah,
dolphins rolling up on the shore with heart disease and pancreatic cancer. You know what I mean? So why? Because they live in tune with nature and we don't. And changing our lifestyle, like you always talk about, Fred, driving that belief system changes their behavior. And that's what our job is. I always say our biggest, most important job is the adjustment above the atlas, not below the atlas, because you could
oh,
be the greatest
absolutely.
chiropractor, the greatest adjuster, but if you're not adjusting anyone, you can't help anybody. So
No, that's why you got to take care of this subluxation first before you can
first,
take care of this one, right? The
first,
one in the body is easy. You got to do this one
yes,
in the first week,
yes,
right? And
yes,
what that study you said sets up a couple of things. One, medicine is proving chiropractic all the time,
all the
but they're
time.
not going to recommend chiropractors.
Correct.
So, but their study is proving chiropractic, and I wrote a book on it. Go to Elite Coaching LLC, get the Back to Health book. You can get a digital copy for free. Go to elitecoachingllc.com, read that book. It's got a bunch of medical studies. So, and then the next thing is, this is what we say on day one. One, you never took care of your spine and nervous system. Why? Because you didn't know, one, spine and nervous system is foundational life and health of the body. We cover that right in the pre-consult. So once they agree, oh, I can see how nerve energy keeps me healthy and my spinal structure relates to the nervous system function. Then two, based on what you just said with antibiotics, here's what your doctor didn't tell you. Now we did a role play because we were role playing at day one, day two, and the girl's story. We're showing the X-rays, right? We have a patient and the spouse, and the wife was the patient, and we're showing her X-rays, talking about energy being shut down, the whole deal. And then and her health history. Well, I had a lot of ear infection. I was very sick as a child. I had a lot of colds and flus, and I go, well, what did you do? Well, the doctor just gave me antibiotics. So immediately, the second principle is what your other health cares didn't tell you. So I'd say, well, did he tell you that maybe your spine, especially in your neck, didn't develop normally? And it caused nervous system stress, so your immune system couldn't build because your nervous system was under stress. No. Well, when he gave you antibiotics, did he tell you that that would set you up, weaken your immune system over time, and set you up for more sickness and disease? And she said no. And then she started getting pissed. Now, this was an associate doctor. And it was fascinating to watch, to put her own personal story in there, role playing and watching her react as a patient. That was the biggest impression on me. What your other healthcare providers didn't tell you. What that chiropractor told you who got rid of your back pain, but didn't talk about your asthma, but didn't talk about your ulcerative colitis, but didn't tell you the relationship between the spinal cord and your overall health, and the fact that you're here for a spinal injury. He didn't relate those things.
Exactly.
No, they didn't. And then you find, okay, now there's a transfer of trust. Because how many patients go to you for their spine, but if I have a health problem, no, I'm going to my MD. Well, no, my kid was sick, so I'm taking him to a pediatrician. Where's that difference? Because lifestyle doesn't use this for health.
Exactly.
And what was our great one-liner on another podcast, one of these, right? If medicine is number one in crisis care and you go to them for health, you're going to end up in a crisis.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so what we do by saying what the other providers didn't tell you, when you're looking at their posture, hey, before your doctor gave you that asthma inhaler, did he tell you you got left thoracic translation with a right rotation, and a right lateral flexion? No. And the nerves of the lungs are right below that. You got 3 dams in the river before you even get to the nerves in your heart and lungs.
Correct.
Did he tell you that accident when you land on your head and fell off your horse, that it was going to break down your heart and lungs in the next few years?
Exactly. Spine problem's a health problem. That's what they don't get. Listen, you don't have a spine problem, you got a health problem.
Dude,
you have a health
that
problem.
Is a great one-liner. Did you guys hear that? Say that again.
You don't have a spine problem, you got a health problem.
Exactly. Yeah, spine problem is a health problem.
They don't get it. So that's up to us to connect the dots. And when you show them the autonomic system, I always use the 30-second drill. And Fred's got similar tools and instruments, but to educate and to lead and to tap into their belief systems. But when they see that, hey, listen, if the spine and nerves all go through that spine and exit to the organs, and the spine gets crooked, what happens? It's going to affect the nerves, affects the organs. So, when your spine gets sick, what happens? You get sick. So you don't have a spine problem, you got a health problem. You're worried about your back. I'm worried about your prostate. I'm worried about your large intestine. I'm worried about your bladder. I'm worried about B lymphocytes. I'm worried about your immune system.
I'm worried about the next 40 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's lifestyle, right? So let me finish the story real quick. So after all that, I asked that girl, now here's the question. This is so valuable for you guys, is I asked her, how did you feel as a sick kid? And she said, I felt like it was my fault.
Yeah.
And I said her name and I said, Sarah, it wasn't your fault. Now, this was actually a live report of findings. We were role playing, but this was live. And it took every cell in her body not to burst out crying in front of 100 people, Yeah. And right then, what's the next question? Do you have kids? Because if she had kids, she's bringing those kids in. She doesn't give a shit what her husband says.
Exactly right.
And she said, no, I don't. And the next question is, why? Because my purpose is generations. Do you want to have kids? Now look at the mindset that Joe and I are talking about. Do you want to have kids? Well, yeah, one day. I go, are you going to start them from birth from chiropractic? Absolutely. What's that
100%.
mean? Not only am I getting patients that aren't even born yet,
Exactly.
but every friend that she has with small kids, she's going to talk to them. And that's
Exactly.
how you build a practice.
Exactly right. Yep.
That's
Yep.
where your new patients come from, because you change belief systems.
Totally. When's the best time to start? Listen, Bob, how long do you think it's been there? It's been my whole life. So when would be a better time to start? Do you have children? Have they been checked yet? I mean, you just go right into it. I mean, no one's going to run out of your office and go, God damn it, I'm never coming in here again. I mean, at the very least, they just start thinking. I mean, at the very least, they're going to go, huh, I never thought of it that before. That's okay. I mean, they don't have to go out and sign up their whole family, but at least you're starting the conversation. One of the things, and again, Fred, I know we've talked about it before, but one of the things we talk about, if you say nothing, if I never talk about your wife, Fred, and I never talk about the benefits of care for family, what is the likelihood that she's going to come in? Certainly, maybe during some major crisis, but short of that, the likelihood of her coming in, if I don't make that connection, is pretty much zero. So what's the likelihood if you talk, if you ask, if you get in the conversation, even if you suck at it, even if you're nervous, even if you stutter, even if you're scared, even if you're fearful of rejection, it's higher than 100 or zero. So I always say, it's better to suck at it. Your stats are still better to say something and suck at it than to say nothing.
And
if you
day you
say
won't suck at
something,
it.
right, listen, 30%, not my words, 30% McDonald's. A consultant came into McDonald's and they said, hey, we're going to do suggestive upsell. So we're going to say, hey, would you like to supersize that? And their sales went up over 30%. And again, that's some person with a high school. I'm not knocking that. High school education, working a lousy speaker. Oh, would you like to supersize that? Yeah, okay, great. So 30%. So you're basically doing the same thing. Hey, Fred, have you thought about bringing your family in? Have you thought about bringing your wife in? I mean, not that's the perfect script, but even that, 10%, 20% of people start bringing their family in just by saying it.
I know.
Why aren't we saying it?
Well, here's the thing, let's reframe that, because we'll say, well, I never thought about that. And when you look at what the other healthcare providers never taught you, I'd say, you mean nobody ever taught you that you should.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And then boom, okay, that's automatic. No, I never
Yes.
thought about it. Yeah, because nobody ever taught you that you're supposed to do that.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah,
your
and then done.
family goes to a dentist, right? I mean, everyone goes to a dentist. Do the only kids in people in your dentist go in if they have a cavity or root canal, or does everybody go? Oh, everybody goes to the dentist. Why? Why do you bring your kids in if they have a perfect checkup and they get the sticker and the toothbrush and the little thing and all the little fun stuff? Why do they still go back? Do you say, oh, thank God they don't need to go to the dentist anymore? Thank God they don't need to brush their teeth anymore? No. So what does it does? It confirms that by taking care of it, it's the surest way to stay healthy. So we do, our message is the same. The surest way to stay healthy, the best lifestyle for your teeth is to brush, floss, get into a professional a few times a year. The best, healthiest lifestyle for your spine and nervous system is to get in here regularly and get brushed and flossed and get checked. You stupid son of a bitch. What the hell? Smack him.
That's a Chiro Mafia report of findings right there, right?
Honestly, you're paying double today because you pissed me off. That's what I say.
Exactly. So, we were talking about this before we started the recording too. How many of your patients say, well, how come my other doctors didn't tell me?
Yes.
So if you hear that, some people say it. A lot of people think it, but they don't say it. So why don't we just bring it up to everyone and say, here's what your other providers didn't tell you.
Right.
They didn't teach you. Now you can answer when they say, well, why didn't they teach me? You can answer that any way you want. We have we have the ways we handle that. But, it's not blame. Obviously, you're not going to blame anybody. It's just, that's not their specialty, man. I mean, shit, how long have you been a chiropractor, dude? I think I'm starting my 37th year. And then 4 years of school. I've been studying spinal biomechanics for 41 years. Exactly. They didn't even have one 5-unit class on it.
Sure.
They haven't taken.
You knew William Röntgen, man. You knew Röntgen, who invented the X-ray machine. That's how long you've been doing this shit for.
Exactly. Yeah, I would love to have been bouncing on BJ's lap, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Pulling on his goatee.
we say something, you know, when they'll talk about medicine and such, you know, and so I never ever discredit
No,
anybody ever,
no.
and I know you don't either, Fred, and you know that's certainly what we teach. I always ask them, listen, you know, I can appreciate that. Let me ask you a question. If you had a dental problem, would you go to your medical doctor? Because they'll say, great, oh, my MD's this, that, or you know, the specialist, the orthopedic, and they'll say, well, no. And I go, well, who would you see? And I'll go to a dentist. And I say, well, would you trust your medical doctor to do a root canal or find if you had a, and they're like, no. And I go, why? And they're like, it's not their specialty. So same idea here when it comes to spine and nervous system. It doesn't diminish your medical doctor, but it's not their specialty. They're not taught to look at where the spine's crooked and the effects of the nervous system and such. But just like it doesn't diminish the value to the dentist, it doesn't diminish the value here in the office. And regardless, you know, you tell me, we don't even need a medical doctor to look at your x-ray. You know, you tell me, is it straight or crooked? You just sidestep it. You go right into that conversation. They answer the question. They validate it 100% for you. And, you know, now it's a matter of mitigating care if there's pushback. But in the end, you know, one of the great lines I heard years ago that I've used myself, I didn't come up with it, but somebody said that, hey, you ever put money away for a rainy day? You know, because somebody says, you know, money's a problem and you put money away for a rainy day. And they're like, yeah. And I go, it's raining. It's raining right now, brother.
Yeah, and only it's blowing
storming
sideways.
Exactly.
There's wind, there's lightning, there's thunder,
exactly.
And the friggin' news is telling us a tornado's on the way, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's your blood pressure, man, is the tornado's coming.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's good. So let's go back and just quick review. Hey, everybody knows one problem. They never took care of their spine and nervous system. They didn't know it was foundation health of life. Nobody ever told them. And because of that, they never took care of their spine and nervous system. So the thing is, here's the problem with healthcare. You have a health problem, you go to a doctor, they fix it, and then you leave. Now, so many chiropractors think you're supposed to fix their health problem. That's not what you're supposed to do. Your initial corrective program is help them recover their health. If their only problem is I never lived a chiropractic lifestyle, there's only one answer. Live a chiropractic lifestyle. But if you're so focused on fixing their asthma and you think if I fix their asthma, I hope they're going to get it. Now your strategy is hope.
Exactly.
And that's why they quit.
Exactly.
So their only problem is they never took care of their spine and nervous system. Correct. Now you have all this damage. Now we see crooked is sick, straight is healthy. How do you want to live? Well, I want to live straight. Well, here's an aggressive program to get you straight. And then we're going to put you on a program for the next 50 years so you can live healthy.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's it. Very simple.
Very simple. You know, one of the analogies we use in chiropractic is with the, you know, if somebody comes in and they give you pushback on the symptom, maybe they're not better or what have you. We always say, well, listen, forget that you even have a problem. Let's look at your x-ray. You walk in, you say to me, hey, Dr. Boer, I feel great, 100%. My wife said it's good for me to come in and get looked at, and I take an x-ray. You know, look at your x-ray. Are you healthy or sick? You know, I'm sick. So who cares that your migraines are still there, your asthma is still there? It's got nothing to do with it. Now, most likely, you know, they're going to get better as your body learns to heal better, but irrespective, I mean, you're not going to your dentist going, you know, I gotta be honest with you, I'm not going to brush and floss, and I'm not coming in anymore because my migraines aren't any better. I mean, you're not going to say that to your dentist, and you're not going to quit dentistry. So you start that idea by the lifestyle of teeth. The other thing too, Fred, that we talk a lot about, and it taps into what you were talking about, is just our product. You know, like our product is a better life, right? It's a lifestyle of health and beauty and performance and feeling great and being functional and being able to live a full, fulfilled life. You know, so if you go to a dental office, like they have pictures of these beautiful people with beautiful teeth. You know, they don't put cavities up there. We put the guy leaning forward with lightning bolts from his back down his leg, you know, rather than wait, why not put a beautiful person up there? My job is to fulfill that product, right? I'm gonna utilize the service of a chiropractor in order to get you there by your nervous system. But, you know, being clear on the product, which you are, but obviously, but you know what we're talking about is the product.
The outcome.
Say that again.
Being clear on the outcome. People 100%. Buy the destination.
Yes.
They buy the transformation.
Correct.
You're not going to go to a cosmetic dentistry place.
Wait, say that again. People buy the
destination and the transformation.
The transformation, that right there, they're buying the transformation. That
exactly. That's retention is not. And here's where the profession blew it, because they say they use avoidance of pain for retention, which is, Miss Jones, if you quit, your pain's going to come back. You're not going to pick up your kids, blah, blah, blah. And that's not what creates long-term change. Right. Pleasure creates long-term change.
Correct.
I mean, you don't get married because you think you're never going to have an argument with your wife. You don't have kids or teenagers because you never think you're not going to want to, right. What do you want to do with teenagers besides go, oh my gosh, you think you know everything and you know nothing. So anyway, so what's the bottom line? They don't buy the plane ride, they buy the beach. They buy the tropical beach. And that's why you go to cosmetic dentistry where they show beautiful smiles everywhere. So you say, I want that. It doesn't matter how much it costs. You're so busy focusing on the avoidance of pain, like what you said. And that's not long-term change.
It's not the transformation.
Yeah,
they buy the destination.
Exactly, man. They buy the beach, not the peanuts on the plane.
Right, exactly right. And then when you talk about getting married, an argument with your wife, just so you know, in our family, my mother and father never had an argument. He just gave her a look and she fell right into line. She shut her mouth, she fell right in line.
She went back in the kitchen.
She went back in the kitchen. He gave her that look. Yeah. Did I ask you your opinion?
Yeah.
Don't you have some sauce to stir? I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding.
Yeah, I know. The reality is,
Chiro Mafia. We are a little gangster, just so you know.
We are. But the reality is, man, my grandfather used to sit on the porch with his guinea tea on, man, and the kitchen window was right behind him. Grandma never came off the sauce, but she was definitely yelling in Italian at him through the window.
Exactly.
That's what it really was. And I was out in the front yard listening to her yelling Italian, and he's just trying to take a nap, man. I just want to relax.
Exactly. Little wine, little music. Exactly.
I know. Because he worked in a bakery, Italian bakery, right? So he was he was at work at 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
He'd come home at 3 in the afternoon, by the way, with cartons and cartons and cartons of fresh baked Italian goods. And we'd get our glass of milk, man. And oh my God, fresh baked Italian everything. And he just wanted to take a nap.
I listened to these nutrition guys, and I remember as a kid, I would have Italian bread the next day. My dad ran a restaurant, so the next day they'd have some bread left over. It would be a little stale, so I'd put 2 or 3 pads of butter on the top, and then I'd take a packet or 2 of sugar and put it on the top, and I'd eat the bread. And they had the soda gun, the soda gun at the bar, and I'd have a Coca-Cola as I was eating this stuff. I'm like, oh my God, it's like, how do I get diabetes at age 8 years old? So, oh my God, thank God I got out of that habit. So.
Yeah, but the reality was the butter was probably real.
Yeah, the bread was,
the flour was real. Yeah. Like that food was actually healthier.
Yes.
Than some seemingly than the new veggie meat, or what is this factory produced meat?
Dan Murphy. I didn't mean to talk over your friend. I'm sorry. Dan Murphy talked about that, and he said, the miracles that we used to see, and you know this yourself, obviously, but for our listeners, the miracles we used to see in chiropractic back in those early 1900s, people are so much more toxic, right? What causes subluxation? So you got that chemical toxicity. So, and then think about the emotional toxicity people under. So, the guy coming in that, the child coming in at, 9 or 10, or the guy coming in at 40, think about how just chemically toxic he is, emotionally toxic he is, why it takes so much longer and so much more care to get them to where they need to be with removing that nerve interference, how resistant the body is on the subluxation. In order to correct it, the body loses its ability in expressing innate to even try to adapt to the environment, like Fred Barge taught us. So
yeah, it's all good. Well, shoot, man, we've been on here 55 minutes or so.
Oh, geez, okay, we're done.
45.
What is our normal time? 50 minutes? An hour?
Yeah, 15 minutes. Yeah. So, hey, all right. Hey, we got some cool guests coming up. Hey, subscribe. Please share these. I mean, if you just listen to this and have the discipline, go all the way through it, there's so many one-liners that can help you build your practice, increase your PVA, get family referrals, and create a lifestyle culture. So thanks for hanging with us. We love you. Hey, we got some exciting guests coming up. Stay with us, and please share these everywhere. It's chiropractors.
Absolutely. Thanks, Fred.
All right. Love you guys. Peace.